for me, through your abundant kindness, I will enter your house. I will prostrate myself toward your holy sanctuary in awe of you. O Yahavah, I love the house where you dwell and the place where your glory resides. I shall prostrate myself and bow. I shall kneel before Yahavah, my Maker. As for me, may my prayer to you, Yahavah, be at a favorable time. O Elohim, in your abundant kindness, answer me with the truth of your salvation in Messiah Yehoshua. Amen.
You may be seated.
Shabbat Shalom. Join me for the Barkot service. Our goal is to fulfill our call to guard the commandments of Torah and to have the testimony that Messiah Yehoshua is the Redeemer of Israel. The clicker. Moses rejoiced in the gift of his portion that you placed on his head when he stood before you on Mount Sinai. He brought down 2 stone tablets in his hand, on which is inscribed the observance of the Sabbath. So it is written in your Torah. And the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to make the Sabbath an eternal covenant for their generations. Between me and the children of Israel, here is a sign forever, that in 6 days I will not make heaven and earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. You did not give it, Yehovah our El, to the nations of the lands, nor did you make it the inheritance, our King, of the worshippers of graven idols. And in its contentment the uncircumcised shall not abide. For to Israel, your people, have you given it in love to the seed of Yaakov, whom you have chosen.
They shall rejoice in your kingship, those who observe the Sabbath. They will all be satisfied and delighted for your goodness. And the Sabbath, you found favor in it and sanctified it. Most covenant days, you call it, the remembrance of the act of creation.
Our El and the El of our forefathers, may you be pleased now with our rest. Sanctify. Where are we? Sanctify us with your commandments and grant our share in your Torah. Satisfy us from your goodness and gladden our souls with your salvation, and purify our heart to serve you sincerely. O Yehovah, our El, with love and favor, grant us your holy Sabbath as a heritage, and may all Israel, the sanctifiers of your name, rest on it. Blessed are you, Yehovah, who sanctifies this Sabbath. All right, Tehillim 139. You have covered me in my mother's womb. I give thanks to you, for I am awesomely and wondrously made. Wondrous are your works, and my being knows it well.
My bones were not concealed from you, without shape in your place, knit together in the depths of the earth.
Your eyes saw my unformed body, and in your book all of them were written, the days they were formed, while none was among them.
How precious are your thoughts to me, O El, how great have been some of them.
If I should count them, they would be more than the sand. When I wake up, I am still with you.
Search me, O El, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts.
And see if an idolatrous way is in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Amen. The Barku. Blessed Yehovah, the blessed one.
Blessed is Yehovah, the blessed one for all eternity.
Barku et Yehovah Hambarak, Baruch Yehovah Hambarak Leolam Bayed. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
6 days shall you labor and do all your work.
But the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yehovah your Elohim. In it you shall not do any work.
For in 6 days Yehovah made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the 7th day. That is why Yehovah blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
Speak also unto the children of Israel, saying, Above all, my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Jehovah who sanctifies you. Do turn back your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my set-apart day, and shall call the Sabbath a delight, the set-apart day of Jehovah esteemed, and shall esteem it, not doing your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words. Then you shall delight yourself in Jehovah. And I shall cause you to ride on the heights of the earth, and feed you with the inheritance of Yaakov your father, for the mouth of Jehovah has spoken. The blessing of our children. Can we get one more man, gentlemen? Thank you. All right. Blessing over our sons. Yisimcha Elohim Ke'Ephraim V'chim Naseh. May Elohim make you as Ephraim and Manasseh. And over our daughters. Yisimek Elohim Ke'Sarah Rivka Leah. May Elohim make you as Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. Father, open their eyes that they may see wonders from your Torah. Listen, children, to your father's instructions, and do not forsake your mother's teaching, for they are a fair wreath on your head and chains to adorn your neck. For I know the plans I have for you, declares Jehovah, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Children, may you flee the evil desires of youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on Jehovah out of a pure heart. Finally, children, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things to protect your mind and soul from Hasatan, that you may be blessed beyond measure. Sons, may you grow to be men of righteousness, like trees whose roots run deep in life, giving water. May you be in the Torah of Yehovah. And daughters, may you come to be courageous women and capable wives whose values are worth far beyond rubies, guiding those in your care in spirit and Torah. Amen. If you will stand for the Messiah prayer. Blessed are you, Yehovah, who has given us the way of salvation, and Messiah Yehoshua.
You walk among us filled with your spirit, the only one who ever filled with power perfectly.
He healed the sick and raised the dead. The multitudes of our people sought his touch.
He taught as no other man taught, bringing forth the treasures of the law of the fathers.
How the children sought him, the lepers he touched and made clean.
How the despised and the outcasts found love and release from their sins. How the hypocrites feared him, whose words uncovered their sins.
Despised and rejected, acquainted with grief, he bore the sins of Israel.
All of us like sheep went astray, turned everyone to his own way.
Our iniquities were laid upon our king. The sins of this world became his burden to bear.
He rose from the dead and opened the way to life everlasting. Praise be to his name.
We are in him, his spirit empowers. New life is ours with joy and peace. Baruch atah Yehovah, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu et direct hayeshua b'mashiach Yehoshua. Amen. Blessed are you, Yehovah, our Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us the way of salvation in Messiah Yehoshua. Amen. The blessing of the Shema. Baruch atah Yehovah, Eloheinu melech haolam, Yorze o uvare, Jose ose shalom uvare ra. Blessed are you, Yahweh our Elohim, King of the universe, who forms light and creates darkness, makes peace and creates evil.
Shema Yisrael, Yehovah Eloheinu, Yehovah Echad, Baruch Shem Gevurah, Malkuto, Yehovah Vaychi. Here's Isaiah, Yehovah Eloheinu, Yehovah is one. Blessed his name is the glorious kingdom for all eternity.
Vahata et Yehovah Eloheka, V'kol lavaka, uv'kol meshka, uv'kol meodeka. V'hayu adavari, ha'ele asher anochi, atzepka, ayom al lavavecha, v'shinatam lavenecha, v'shinatam bam b'shiftika, v'evteka, uvletika, v'aderet, ushatika, ukomeka. Uchatam leot al yedeka, vahayu latotafo bainaneka, uchatam al mezutzo beteka, urisha rika. And you shall love Yehovah
Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. As these words come in these days, hands on your heart, as you shall teach them to your children, and speak of them when you sit in your house,
when you walk by the way, when you retire, when you arise. You shall bind them for a sign upon your hands, and let them be frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. Vahata, Liraka, Kamoka. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself. You may be seated.
Before we do the Torah service, Angie's home sick today, but she got a text from Devin. You know, they're out visiting their folks during this break. And she got an urgent prayer request and 2 or 3 more I'll get to later. But her sister and some others were in a SUV and they went over the side of a mountain, flipped end over end and went down the mountain. Her name is Jillian. She's in the hospital with a lacerated spleen. So Devin asked, please be praying for her sister, Jillian.
What's her name?
Jillian?
All right, if y'all would bow your heads, we'll just go ahead and pray for her. Father Yahweh, we thank you so much for all the members of our congregation, Father. But we want to lift up our sister Devin. And Father, we thank you so much for her and all that she does for this congregation. But right now, Father, she has an urgent request that we lift up her sister Jillian, Father, who was in a very bad accident, Father. We're thankful, Father, at the moment that she's surviving, but we just ask, Father, right now for peace and understanding, Father, and we pray for your supernatural healing, that Devin's family will come to know your Torah through this, and we just pray for peace among the family right now. We just pray that your healing hands will be upon Jillian right now as she's recovering, and if anybody else was in the car, we just ask that you would protect them, Father, and help them to heal, Father. We just ask all of these things. We also want to lift up Angie, Father. We know right now she's out, not feeling well, so we're just going to go ahead and lift her up, and we just pray that you will put your supernatural healing hands on her as well, Father. And we ask all this in your Son, Yeshua's name. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. There is to be one Torah for the native born and for the stranger who sojourns among you. Bamidbar, Numbers 15:16. If you'll join me in the Ayin Kamoka. Ayin Kamoka Velohim Yehovah V'yein Kemaseka Melkuka Melkuk Kolamim Umem Sheltika Vekador Vador, Yahovah Malek, Yahovah Malak, Yahovah Yimlok, Leolam Vayed, Yahovah Oz Leomitain, Yahovah Yivarech, Edamova Shalom. There is none like you among their gods, Yahovah, and there is nothing like your works. Your kingdom is a kingdom throughout all generations, and your dominion is forever. Yahovah reigns, Yahovah has reigned, Yahovah will reign forever and ever. Yahovah will give strength to his people, Yahovah will bless his people with peace. When the ark would travel, Vayahi ben so ha'aron, Ve'omer Moshe, Kuma Yahovah, Ve'yafudzu oiveka, Ve'yanusu mesaneka, mepaneka, Ki mizeon teze Torah, Ki mizeon Teze Torah, Udavar Yahovah, Meyerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan, Torah HaTorah, Baruch Shenatan, Torah HaTorah, Le'amo Yisrael, Bikadushu Ato. And when the ark would travel, Moshe would say, Arise, Yahovah, and let your enemies be scattered, and let those who hate you flee from you. For the Torah will go forth from Zion, and the word of Yahovah from Yerushalayim. Blessed is he who gave the Torah to his people Yisrael in his holiness. Amen.
Hava
May the Father of compassion have mercy on the nation that is born by him, and may he remember the covenant of the spiritually mighty. May he rescue our souls from the bad times and upbraid the evil inclination to leave those born by him. Graciously, make us an eternal remnant and fulfill our requests in good measure for salvation and mercy. May he help, shield, and save all who take refuge in him. Now let us respond, Amen. All of you ascribe greatness to our Elohim and give honor to the Torah. Arise, Yochanan ben Levi, an Israelite, to come to the Bema to read from the Torah. Blessed is he who gave the Torah to his people Yisrael in his holiness. Okay. Thank you. Baruch et Yehovah Hambarak. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam asher bakar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Yehovah Notein HaTorah. Amen. Blessed are you, Yehovah our Elohim, King of the universe, who has chosen us from all peoples and given us his Torah. Blessed are you, Yehovah, giver of the Torah.
We're reading today the final chapter of Genesis, chapter 50, the 1 through 23. And Joseph fell on his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Israel. And 40 days were completed for him. So are completed the days of embalming. And the Mitzrites wept for him 70 days. And when the days of weeping for him were past, Joseph spoke to the household of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found favor in your eyes, please speak in the hearing of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, See, I am dying. Bury me in my burial site which I dug for myself in the land of Canaan. And now, please, let me go up and bury my father and return. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury your father, as he made you swear. And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Mitzrayim, and all the house of Joseph, and his brothers, and his father's house. Only their little ones and their flocks and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan, and they lamented there with great and very heavy lamentation. And he performed 7 days of mourning for his father. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning at the threshing floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning for the Mitzrites. That is why its name was called Abel Mitzrayim, which is beyond the Jordan. And his sons did to him as he had commanded them. For his sons brought him to the land of Canaan, and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah, before Mamre, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite as property for a burial site. And after he had buried his father, Joseph returned to Mitzrayim, he and his brothers and all who went up with him to bury his father. And when Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, What if Joseph hates us and pays us back all the evil that we did to him? And they sent word to Joseph, saying, Before your father died, he commanded, saying, This is what you are to say to Joseph. I beg you, please forgive the transgression of your brothers and their sin, for they did evil to you. And now, please, forgive the transgression of the servants of the Elohim of your father. And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. And his brothers also went and fell down before his face. And they said, See, we are your servants. And Joseph said to them, Do not fear, for Am I in the place of Elohim? And you intended evil against me, but Elohim intended it for good, in order to do it as it is this day, to keep a great many people alive. And now, do not fear. I provide for you and your little ones. So he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. And Joseph dwelt in Mitzrayim, he and his father's household. And Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children to the third generation, the children of Machir, son of Manasseh, who was born on Joseph's knees. Okay, the Maftir is chapter 50, verses 24 through 26. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am dying, but Elohim shall certainly visit you and bring you out of this land to the land which he swore to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov. And Joseph made the children of Israel swear, saying, Elohim shall certainly visit you, and you shall bring up my bones from here. And Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was placed in a coffin in Mitzrayim. Chazak, chazak, be strong, be straight.
Closing blessings. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'kayeh olam nata botkenu. Baruch atah Yehovah Notein HaTorah. Amen. Blessed are you, Yahovah our Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us a Torah of truth and has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, Yahovah, giver of the Torah. He who blessed our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, may he bless Yochanan ben Levi. He has come up to read from the Torah in honor of Yahovah and his word. As a reward for this, may the Holy One, blessed is he, protect him and rescue him from every trouble and distress, from every plague and illness, and may he send blessings and prosperity in his every endeavor, together with all Israel, his brethren. Now let us respond, Amen. And now the Vezot. Vezot HaTorah Asher Sam Moshe Lifnei B'nei Yisrael Al Pei Yahovah Biad Moshe. And this is the Torah that Moshe placed before the children of Israel at the command of Yahovah through Moshe's hand. Return, O Yahovah, to the countless thousands of Israel. Amen. And now you may be seated. And I would like to call up Yochanan ben Avraham to read from the Haftorah. Jonathan. Okay. The opening Haftorah blessings. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu Melech haolam asher bakar binvim tovim v'razav edarahim hanei amarim be'et met. Baruch atah Yehovah haboker batorah Uv Moshe Adoho Uv Israel amo, uvin vie haimet vazedek. Blessed are you, Yahovah our Elohim, King of the universe, who has selected good prophets and was pleased with their words which were spoken truthfully. Blessed are you, Yahovah, who chooses the Torah, your servant Moshe, your people Yisrael, and prophets of truth and righteousness.
Pronounce that.
First Kings.
Yeah. All right.
Or Malachim.
1 Kings 2, 1 through 12. And the days of David drew near to die. And he commanded Shlomo, his son, saying, I am going the way of all the earth, and you shall be strong and be a man, and guard the charge of Yahweh your Elohim, and walk in his way, and guard his laws, his commandment, his right ruling, and his witnesses. And it is written in the Torah of Moshe that you do wisely all that you do wherever you turn, so that Yahweh does not establish his word which he speaks concerning me, saying, if your sons guard their way and walk before me in truth with all their heart and with all their being, saying, there is not to cease a man of yours on the throne of Israel. And also you know that Joab, son of Zerah, did to me, and what he did to the two commanders of the armies of Israel, and to Abner the son of Ner, and Amasa son of Jether, that he killed them and shed their blood of battle in peace, and put the blood of battle on his belt that was around his waist, and on the sandals that were on his feet. So act accordingly to your wisdom. Do not let his gray hair go down to Sheol in peace, but show loving commitment to the son of Barzillai the Gileadite, and let them be among those who eat at your table, for so they came to me when I fled from Absalom your brother. And see, with you is Shimei, son of Gera, the Benjamite from Bahram, who cursed me with a grievous curse in the day when I went to Machanaim, anyway. But he came down to meet me at the Jordan, and I swore to him by Yahweh, saying, I shall not put you to death with the sword. And now do not leave him unpunished, for you are a wise man, and know what you should do to him, and shall bring his gray hair down to Sheol with blood. And David slept with his fathers, and was buried in the city of David. In the days of David reign over Israel were 40 years. He reigned 7 years in Hebron, and in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years. And Shlomo sat on the throne of his father David, and his reign was firmly established.
The closing blessings for the Haftarah reading. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam, zor kol haomim, zedek b'kol hadirot, ha'el haniman, haomer ve'oseh, hamdabar kayam, shekol devarav, etmet vazedek, niaman, atahu Yehovah Eloheinu, v'nimin devaraka, V'darvar kad mevareka, akor lo reshuv rekam, kiel malek niaman, v'rakam anata, baruch atah Yehovah, ha'el haniman, ve'kol davarav. Blessed are you, Yehovah our Elohim, King of the universe, Rock of all eternity, faithful in all generations, who says and does, who speaks and makes it come to pass, all of whose words are true and righteous. Faithful are you, Yehovah our Elohim, and faithful are your words, for not one word of yours is turned back unfulfilled. For you are a faithful El and King. Blessed are you, Yehovah, the Elohim, who is faithful in all his words. He who blessed our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, may he bless Yochanan ben Abraham, because he has come up to read from the Haftarah. As a reward for this, may the Holy One, the Father of our Messiah, blessed is he, protect him and rescue him from every illness, and may he send blessings and success in his every endeavor, together with all Yisrael his brethren. Now let us respond, Amen. Thank you. And now I would like to call up Daphne Bat Avraham to read from the second writings. Do you want to do your blessings?
Let's do them together.
Okay. And the opening blessings for the second writings. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan. I'm doing that all wrong, aren't I? Yehovah noten ha-brit ha-torah. Well, you got to start that out right. Blessed are you, Yehovah our Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us Messiah Yehoshua and the writings of the Talmudim. Blessed are you, Yehovah, giver of the covenant of the Torah.
We're reading from Kefa Aleph, 1 Peter 1 through 9. Kefa, an emissary of Yehoshua Messiah, to the chosen strangers of the dispersion in Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, chosen according to the foreknowledge of Elohim the Father, set apart by the Spirit unto obedience and sprinkling of the blood of Yehoshua Messiah. Favor and peace be increased to you. Blessed be the Elohim and Father of our Master Yehoshua Messiah, who according to his great compassion has caused us to be born again to a living expectation through the resurrection of Yehoshua Messiah from the dead, to an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled and unfading, having been kept in the heavens for you, who are protected by the power of Elohim through belief, for a deliverance ready to be revealed in the last time, in which you exult, even though for a little while, if need be, you have been grieved by manifold trials, in order that the proving of your belief, much more precious than gold that perishes and proven by fire, might be found to result in praise and respect and esteem at the revelation of Yehoshua Messiah, whom having not seen you love, in whom you exult with unspeakable and esteemed joy, yet not seeing but believing, obtaining the goal of your belief, a deliverance of lives.
And the closing blessings for the second writing. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu hadavar haemet, v'kaye olam nata botkenu. Baruch atah Yehovah asher natan lanu Mashiach Yehoshua, v'hakatavim hal talmidin. Blessed are you, Yahovah our Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us the word of truth and has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, Yahovah, who has given us the Messiah and the writings of the Talmud. He who blessed our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, may he bless Daphne Bat Abraham, because she has come up to read from the second writings in honor of Messiah and his teachings. As a reward for this, may the Holy One, the Father of our Messiah, blessed is he, protect her and rescue her from every trouble and distress, from every plague and illness, and may he send blessings and success in her every endeavor, together with all Israel, her brethren. Now let us respond. Amen. If you'll please stand for the Etzchaim He. Etzchaim He, Lama Kazim Kiva, Beton He Ameha, Ushar, Darakeha, Darkeloam, Bekol Tivoteha, Shalom, Hashiva Yahovah, Aleka Banashuva, Kadesh, Kadesh Yameinu, Kadesh Yameinu, Lekedem. It is a tree of life to those who take hold of it, and those who support it are praiseworthy. Its ways are the ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Bring us back, Yahovah, to you, and we shall come. Renew our days as of old. This concludes the Torah service, and you may be seated.
Nobody's doing a mini midrash?
No, I skipped John last week.
Yeah, do you vote?
You need the clicker or without a speaker?
No, I have this.
Okay. That's back here. You have the clicker?
Is it on? Yeah. Is it on? Can you hear me? Gonna need it right now. That's okay. Thank you. Can you hear me there? Can you hear me? Am I on? There you go. All right. Are you able to see there, or do I need to move more this way? A little bit more this way? All right. That's fine. Both will work. All right. Shabbat Shalom. So good to be here, as always. As always say, it is a challenge. There's a lot of study every time you do a midrash. But it is a blessing. Sometimes I see a lot of people speaking in public, and it's like, man, they're good. It's like, I wish I can do that. But it's like, number one, I don't speak English correctly. Number two, it's a lot of practice. But sometimes I see a lot of these people talking, and it is a good message. But it's like, I want to see more of this. I want to see more scripture. I want to see more deep study of the Bible, because anyone can get up and tell a good story, especially if it is about yourself or something that Elohim has done in your life. So it's always easy to do that. But when it comes to prepare a study, I do it for myself as much as I do to share it with you guys. But it's seriously a blessing and a privilege to do it. So we're going to go. We have Parsha Vaychi, and he lived. I have a lot of information. We're going to be using the scriptures a lot. We're going to be anywhere from the Tanakh from the Torah to the Tanakh to the second writings. So I'm going to have most of those verses and chapters there on the screen, but make sure that you double check, especially if you have any different translation that you would like to see and check as well. Okay, so this is a closing parsha of the book of Vaychi, Genesis. No other book in the Bible, in the scriptures, cover as many years as the book of Vaychi. Okay, so we're talking anywhere from creation, that we don't even know how far away that creation goes, all the way to the death of Joseph. The first work in the book of Vaychi, it is Vaychi, which means in the beginning or in a beginning. The last word of the book is Mitzrayim, which translated as Egypt. The first letter of the book is a Beit, which in Hebrew means a house, family, an open door. And the last letter of the book is a Mem, which means water, but also can mean chaos, mighty, and blood. So very good contrast from the first word to the last word of the Parsha. We are at the end of the life of the family that will have a major impact on the life of the future of Israel as a nation. It's very interesting that in this Parsha, we read about the death of Jacob and Joseph, but we have no information about the death of the rest of the brothers. Okay, so we can only speculate what happened to them, because there is nothing in the scripture, from the Torah, from the writings, that will tell us what happened to Benjamin, what happened to Reuben, what happened to Gad, what happened to any of them. So all that we can do is speculate. And it seems like they outlived his brother Joseph, which the only one that was younger than him was Benjamin. Because when Joseph was dying, he called for all of them to come, and he told them what was going on. So it's very interesting that, being one of the youngest one, he mentions that he died, but this is one of the few times that, especially major people in the Torah, we have no information about when they die. So again, we have, and not only that, there is a gap. Once the book of Vaychi finished, all the way that we get to Exodus, there is a gap from 300-400 years that we can only speculate what happened as well, because we don't have a lot of information, especially from the Torah and the writings, of what happened during that silent time. The Haftorah portion has a lot of parallel historically between Jacob and King David. And it tells the story about life, death, and passing the kingdom to a new generation. King David is known as one of the greatest kings of Israel. I think everybody will agree with that one. And he's about to die. He called for his son Solomon, and he given his final blessing and instructions to him. The many wife and son of David has been a headache in the life of the king. His son fighting among each other to see who was going to be his successor. Absalom tried to take the kingdom from his own father during the time that he was alive and well. Adoniah, another of his sons, was trying to proclaim himself as king of Israel, and that's what we don't read in 1 Kings chapter 1. That's why we see David talking to Solomon. So Adoniah was trying to proclaim himself as the king of Israel once he found out that David was very sick and about to die. He made a great feast. He invited all his brothers except one. Who he didn't invite? Shlomo, of course. And he invited many other people. He didn't invite Nathan, which was the prophet of Elohim. He didn't invite none of the priests, especially the high priest, which was supposed to be blessing the king. So he didn't have the blessing of his father David either. So this is why David, we read in the story of what was have to happen. Adoniah assumed that he was the next in line, and it seems that his brother thought that too, because they agreed with it. They went with him, and they were seeing what was going on. David didn't know about it. Bathsheba, the mother of Shlomo, went to David after Nathan the prophet went to her and told her what Adoniah was doing, because David and nobody else have any idea what was going on. Of course, David promised Bathsheba during his life that was Shlomo was going to be sitting after him. So he called the priest and the prophet and asked Shlomo to ride his own mule, and now Israel and everyone, the kid's son, knew who the next king was going to be after Shlomo, which is very interesting, because you have to with Jacob, he wanted to make sure who was going to be in charge of Israel and what they needed to be doing. What was the job of each one of his sons? Here with Shlomo and David was going to be the same thing. People needed to know exactly that it was Solomon that was going to be the next in line. A lot of similarities between the two families, as we were talking before. Jacob had 12 sons. David has 19 sons, and we're not counting the two that died on an early age. Reuben was the firstborn of Jacob. He didn't get the blessing of the firstborn, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Ammon, which was David's firstborn, was killed by Absalom, and after he raped his sister Tamar. Both David and Jacob were the youngest one in their family. I mean, Jacob wasn't by a lot, but he was still the youngest one. Their youngest son received the blessings that were supposed to be for the firstborn. And again, we're going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later. We see two different speeches from the dying fathers, okay? These are not be to seen as a blessing. It's more than that, okay? What David is telling his son is more a command than it is a blessing. So that's what we're going to look in 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 3. And he said, guard the charge of Yahweh your Elohim, to walk in his way, to guard his laws, his commands, his right rulings, and his witnesses. It is written in the Torah of Moshe, so that you do wisely in all that you do and whatever you turn. Okay, so he also commands Shlomo to remember those who have done good to David and those who have done evil to him. He told Shlomo to act according to his wisdom. Okay? Now, what kind of wisdom a little child will have? Okay? Because we were talking that Shlomo was 12 years old when he was blessed to become the next king of Israel. And I work with teenagers, and I would not trust a 12-year-old to do absolutely nothing. They cannot even remember to bring their homework when they're supposed to. So, less that they're going to be running the kingdom of Elohim with millions of people and try to do the right thing, okay? So he was only 12 years old. 12 years old when he was blessed to be the king of Israel. 1 Kings chapter 3, Yahweh appeared to Shlomo in a dream and asked what I should give you. Okay, this is in verse 5. Ask what I should give you. This is right after his father is dead. What Shlomo asked was way beyond his years. Okay, as a 12-year-old, he was very mature. He didn't want to do according to his own understanding. He wanted to come from Elohim. I know it's probably a little bit hard to read, but I'm going to be reading along. This is on 1 Kings chapter 3, starting on verse 7. He said, and now, O Yahweh my Elohim, you have set up my servant to reign instead of my father David. But I'm a little child. I do not know how to go out or to come in. So the first thing that you have to do is recognize that you cannot do it, or that you have a long way to go before you do anything. So in this case, Solomon knew that he needed help from Elohim because he was a little kid. And your servant is in the midst of your people, whom you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to be numbered or counted. Shall you then give your servant an understanding heart to rule your people, to discern between good and evil? For who is able to rule this great people of yours? Shlomo recognized that it wasn't his people, but it was the people of Elohim. And the word was good in the eyes of Yahweh, that Shlomo have asked this. So Elohim said to him, because you have asked this, have not asked long life for yourself, and nor asked for riches for yourself, nor asked for life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself discernment to understanding right ruling. See, I shall do according to your words. See, I shall give you a wise and understanding heart, that there was none like you before you, and none like you shall arise after you. and I shall also give you that you have not asked, both riches and esteem, so that there shall be no anyone like you among the sovereigns all of your days. And if you walk by my ways to guard my laws and my commands, as your father David walked, then I shall prolong your days. Right after that happened, we know the story about the two prostitutes coming with the one child, right? And we know that one of them lost a child where she was asleep, and the other one still have their child. So they were fighting. They were saying, no, it's mine. It belongs to me. So we know what happened. Shlomo said, just cut the kid in half. And give one half to one mother and the other half to the other mother. So we know how that happened. It was the real mother say, please don't do that. Just give the whole child to the other one. The poor kid didn't deserve to die. So Shlomo said, this is the mother of the child, and you must give it back to her because of her heart. So the people all around the earth heard about that how a 12-year-old kid was able to make such a wise decision. But again, it didn't come from him. It was Elohim giving him that right away. We read in 14 that it says, if you walk in my ways to guard my laws and my commands as your father David walked, then I shall prolong your days. Unfortunately, Solomon didn't do that. So we know his days were actually short, because if he was 12 years old when he took the kingdom, he reigned for about 40 years. He was only 52, 53 years old when he died. So we knew that his days were not as numerous as some of the other men and women. Even though that we seen that he repented at the end, he had a repentant heart. When we read the some of his book, Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, we know that he was able to make a decision on that one and repent. Okay, so we learned that the speech from David to Shlomo was what? Was a command, right? It was more than a blessing, it was a command. Just keep and guard the law of Yahweh. We also see that David didn't call any of his other sons when he was dying, right? Only Shlomo was to be blessed. In chapter 49 of Vaychi, Jacob called for all of his sons. And this was not a command just like David did. And it was more than just a blessing. The blessing of Jacob wasn't about wishing good things to his son. What do you do if you know you're about to die and you have your sons coming around you? You're probably going to tell them good things, right? Hey, I love you. Do good with your life. I'm sorry? Yeah, you spend your inheritance. I'm sorry, you have to keep working hard for the rest of your life. So, I mean, you're going to be telling him something good and nice, you know. So the words that Jacob spoke to his sons were not only about his sons, but also about his descendants. Jacob had a revelation about the days to come. In verse 1 of chapter 49, so we're going to see right there, he says, and Jacob called his sons and said, gather together, so that I declare to you what is to befall you in the last days. Okay? And that word last days in the Hebrew is Acharit Hayamin. Okay? And it means exactly that, like the latter days or the later days. We find these exact words in many other passages in the Tanakh, especially when it's about prophecy. Isaiah 2:2 said, and it shall be in the latter days that the mountains of the house of Yahweh is established on the top of the mountain. It shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow to it. Again, the word there, latter days, is going to be a Harit Hayamin, which is the same word. Yes?
What last days are we talking about? We talk about the Millennium Kingdom, we talk about their end of the stay in Egypt, and all that stuff. What is the term?
Usually, the term Harit Hayamin will be literally translated as a long time from now. Okay, so it can be anywhere to the end of the day, but we're talking about a long time from now. So it has nothing, it doesn't have a specific day, but it's usually talking about future events that are going to take place later on. Yes, at the end of this age, most likely.
Deuteronomy 4:30 says, in your distress, when all these words shall come upon you in the latter days, then you shall return to Yahweh your Elohim and shall obey his voice. Again, the word there for latter days is going to be Harid Hayamim. So we have established now that what Yaakov is about to tell his son as his descendant is not about what was going to happen right to them after he's gone. He's talking about something prophetically, something that is going to affect not only his descendants, but even the future of Israel at the end of this age. So we're going to see the identity and the character of each tribe, the historical development of each tribe, and the events in the latter days. I know there is a lot of this portion, but I was very interested in just some focus on chapter 49. But again, be ready because we're going to be jumping from chapter 49. We're going to go to the Tanakh, the writings, especially in Chronicles, a lot of historical, and also in the second writing. So let's turn back to Vaychi chapter 49. And the first one that we have is Jacob addressed his firstborn, Reuben. Okay? There you go. So in chapter 49, it's verse 3 and 4, he says, Reuben, you're my firstborn, my power and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of exaltation and the excellency of power. Boiling like water, you do not excel because you went up to your father's bed, then you defiled it, he went up to my couch. So he started with very strong words to Reuben. Again, as you can see, this is just not a regular blessing or wishing you well. This is a prophecy. So we know that Reuben is one of the 2.5 tribes that were on the east side of the Jordan River. Okay, so they didn't cross to where they were supposed to be. Reuben was the firstborn of Jacob. That's why he started the blessing with him. Because of his sin, he lost the firstborn rights. As we read in the Torah, in Deuteronomy 21:17, that's where we know what the blessings of the firstborn, which is a double portion of the inheritance, the priesthood and the leadership. Okay, because of what he did, he lost that. His sin was recorded on Genesis, on Vaychi 35, 22. I'm just going to read it. And it came to be when Israel dwelt in the land that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard about it. So his sin was sexual immorality, pretty much. And that is a sin that is repeated several times throughout the Torah, the Tanakh, and the second writings as well. Now we see 1 Chronicle chapter 5, verse 1. And the son of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, he was the firstborn, but because he profaned his father's bed, his birthright was given to the son of Joseph, son of Israel, so that the genealogy is not listed according to the birthright. Again, just because you were the firstborn doesn't mean that all the blessings are going to, if you start walking in your own way, I'm sorry, you're going to lose those blessings. Jacob described Reuben as boiling like water. His emotion took control of his life instead of making wise decisions. Someone like that cannot be a good leader. Okay? Someone that goes just by emotions cannot be a good leader. And we see that in the world that we live today, a lot of emotional leaders. If he couldn't contain himself by sleeping with his father's concubine, it was going to be hard for him to contain himself in any other situation. Reuben not only lost the leadership of Israel, but also his descendants. In all the history of Israel, no one from the tribe of Reuben made an impact in the history of Israel. Okay, so it was much more than that. The descendant of Reuben, Datan, Abiram, and On joined the rebellion with Korah against the leadership of Moshe and Aaron, as we read in Numbers 16. We know what happened there. They tried to do their own things, tried to join the Moabites and marry them, started worshiping them idols, and the earth swallowed them up. Okay. In Numbers 1:20, we're not going to go there, but we're talking about the census. The tribe of Reuben have 46,500 men. Okay? After 4 years in the wilderness, in the second census, the population decreased to 43,730 men. Okay? So they didn't increase. They actually lost in 40 years about 3,000 to 4,000 people, at least on the men. So that's without counting the men and women. The tribe of Reuben asked Moshe to stay on the west side of the Jordan. They didn't want to go with the rest of the tribe. Their decision was based on livestock, not thinking about helping their brother. Okay, and we read that in Numbers 32. Might be a little bit small, but we can read all along. It says, and the children of Reuben and the children of Gad have much livestock, a large number. And they saw that the land of Jazer and the land of Gilead, and saw that the place was a place for livestock. So the children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spoke to Moshe and to Eleazar the priest, and to the leaders of the congregation, saying, Atarot and Divon and Jazer and Nimrod and Heshbon and Cleel and Shevan and Nebo and Beon, the land which Yahweh has stricken before the congregation of Israel is a land for livestock. And your servant had livestock. And they say, if we have found favor in your eyes, let this land be given to your servant as a possession, and do not let us pass over the Jordan. Whole story short is, Moshe thought that was pretty selfish of them, because they were coming up from here on the other side, and one they're camping around this area just because the land was fertile. They asked Moshe, Gad, and Reuben to stay there on that side. And their decision was made on their livestock. It wasn't made, it's like, can we just cross over just like it was promised to our forefathers? They decided to stay on in the other side. So Moshe thought it was a very selfish way for them to ask for that. Why are you asking for that? So now you're telling me that you're not going to come and fight for the land that we need to take? And that's when we continue reading and said, then the displeasure of Yahweh burned on that day, and he swore an oath, saying, no one of the men who came up from Israel from 20 years old and above, just because of what they say, is to see the land which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because they did not follow me completely. Except Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and the Kenizzite, and Jehoshua, son of Nun, for they have followed Yahweh completely. So the displeasure of Yahweh burned against Israel, and he made them wander in the wilderness 40 years, until the generation have done evil in the eyes of Yahweh was destroyed. If you always want an answer why they were wandering in the wilderness for so long, there you go. He wanted to that generation done with the evil be gone. So they made a pact later on that, okay, you're going to send the best men to go fight, and once you're done fighting, you're going to come back and be with your family. So that's how they ended up being there. So this happened not to be a wise decision, because by being on the other side of the Jordan, they're more vulnerable to what? The enemy's attack, right? Because there was no one that came helping around here. The other two tribes are here on the north. So anyone coming from this side and attack them, they were going to be very exposed to that one. Reuben was not reliable to be a leader of Israel, nor had the blessing of the firstborn. He didn't deserve to lead the family of Israel. The firstborn blessings are not a right for the person that is the firstborn, and it doesn't automatically go to the first son. We remember that Esau didn't want it. He actually sold it to Jacob for a bowl of soup. He didn't want it. It is a responsibility to be the firstborn and have those blessings, and Reuben was not ready to take it, nor his descendants. In the other hand, Moshe actually blessed Reuben at the end of his life. In Deuteronomy 33:6, we read that Moshe said to Reuben, let Reuben live and not die, and let his men be numbered. Okay, and here we have a picture of what? Who do you know what that is? Mount Nebo. Okay, this is where Moshe died, or that's when Elohim showed him, hey, this is the land that I'm going to give to your forefathers. So he's actually looking that way, looking over the Jordan and the Salt Sea, the Dead Sea. So, and this is located in the tribe of Reuben. Okay, where Reuben was, Mount Nebo was located where the land that belongs to the children of Reuben, which I think is very interesting. And that's probably why Moshe gave him a good blessing at the end of his life. Okay. All right, now let's work to next one. We have Shimeon and Levi. Okay, these two were going together. Shimeon and Levi are brothers. Their weapons are implements of violence. Let my being not enter their council. Let my sting not be united to their assembly, because they kill a man in their displeasure, and they lend an ox in pleasure. Cursed be their displeasure for his fears, and their wrath for his cruel. I divided in Jacob and scattered them in Israel. Again, something that didn't sound too much of a blessing, but we're talking about prophecy right here. Shimeon and Levi were number 2 and 3 of the son of Jacob. They could have technically get the blessings of the firstborn, but because of what they did, they didn't get it. Okay, we have the story of Genesis 34. Remember where they were staying, they came and took his sister, and they went and made everyone pay for it pretty much. They just, okay, we're going to make a pact with you guys, made them circumcised. When they were circumcised, they went and attacked all the men. And that didn't look too good for Jacob. So they took justice in their own hand. Not only they killed the men that raped their sister, but also the entire man population where they were. They only left the women and children and the livestock and belongings. What they did was about vengeance. It wasn't about justice. It was, we are avenging what happened to our sister. They made Jacob look bad, and when Jacob confronted them, they didn't repent. They were just trying to make an excuse instead of owning it. Yes, we did it. So they didn't repent. Just because they did that, they didn't get the blessing of the firstborn either. But their they were not cursed because of them, but their actions were. Violence and vengeance will bring curse upon a nation, not justice. The tribe of Shimeon was part of the sin of Baal Peor. Okay, this is in Numbers 25. Where the children of Israel were prostituting themselves with the daughters of Moab and made sacrifices to their idols. On that day only, 25,000 people died from the plague. And it started with Zimri, a chief from the house of Shimeon. So everything, the sin that made 24,000 people perish, started with Zimri from the tribe of Shimeon. Due to that, the population of Shimeon went from 59,300 in the first census to 22,200 in the second census. And I did the math, that's about 63% lose of the population. So they lost a lot of people due to their sins. Shimeon didn't have their own territory in the promised land. The land was divided within the tribe of Yehuda. We're going to read that in Joshua chapter 19, verses 1 and 9. And he says, in the second lot came out Shimeon for the tribe of the children of Shimeon, for the clans, and their inheritance was within the inheritance of the children of Yehuda. The inheritance of the children of Shimeon was out of the portion of the children of Yehuda, for the portion of the children of Yehuda was too much for them. So the children of Shimeon have their inheritance within their inheritance. So they didn't get their own land. They were living with Yehuda pretty much. Not only that, but the cities that were given to Shimeon were located in the Negev desert, again, in a desert. So they didn't have a lot of fertile land that they could work on. And one thing that is very interesting about the tribe of Shimeon is that Moshe didn't bless Shimeon when he was going to die in Deuteronomy 33. So the tribe of Shimeon was not included in the blessing from Moshe. After the separation of the kingdom of Israel, in 1st and 2nd Chronicles, it seems that the majority of the tribe of Shimeon went and joined the northern kingdom. Those who rejected Yahweh and his ways. Only 500 of the men assimilated to Yehuda and stayed in the south. Okay? So we know that there were just a small part of their tribe where stayed with the Yehudim when the two kingdoms were separated. Yehuda is mentioned again in Hazor, Revelation 7:7. I'm sorry. Yes. Of the tribe of Shimeon, the 12,000 were sealed. Now, Levi. Levi didn't receive their own territory either. Okay? So we have Joshua 21:41 and 42. It says, all the cities of the Levites within their possession of the children of Israel were 48 cities with their open land. Each of these cities have open land surrounded. So it was with all the cities. As we know, Levi didn't receive one part of the territory. So they have 48 cities, and these are all the cities that were named in the book of Joshua, all the way around on every single one of the tribes. Okay. The dispersion of Levi wasn't a punishment, but a privilege. Okay. In the same event as Shimeon, you know what Shimeon did and what his descendants did in number 25 about Peor. It was a Levi that chose to do the right thing and stop the killing. Okay. And then we read that on Numbers 25, starting on verse 7. And when Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, saw it, he rose up among the congregation and took the spear in his hand. And he went after the men of Israel into the tent of the thrust both them through the men of Israel and the woman through her belly. Thus the plague among the children of Israel came to a stop. And those who died in the plague were 24,000. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, have turned back my wrath from the children of Israel, because he has hardened my ardor in the midst, so that I did not consume the children of Israel in my ardor. Therefore, see, I am giving him my covenant of peace, and it shall be to him and to his seed that after this covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because of what he did, because he was ordered for his Elohim and make atonement for the children of Israel. Remember what happened, what was the blessing or the prophecy from Jacob. It wasn't a too promising one, because of Phinehas did Abel Peor. He was giving now the priesthood and to lead Israel, which again is like everything that we do has consequences. We don't have to live on what our forefather has done. We can make our own decisions and get those blessings that belong to us from the Father. Because it can be given to us, but it can also be taken away from us. Because just because you're a Levi, in this case, doesn't mean that forever this is going to happen, because unfortunately, several generations later, the Levites were not keeping the ways of Yahweh. They were about to lose everything that they gained, and the prophecy, we read it in the book of Malachi, chapter 2, and it says, and now, O priest, this command is for you. If you do not hear, if you do not take it to heart to give esteem to my name, say Yahweh of hosts, I shall send a curse upon you, and I shall curse your blessings. And indeed, I have cursed them because you do not take it to heart. See, I shall rebuke your seed. Again, he can if we're sinning. And scatter them before your faces, the dung of your festival, and you shall be taken away with it. And you shall know that I have sent this command to you as being my covenant with Levi. Say Yahweh of hosts. He remembered what covenant he made with Levi. But because of they were doing, this is what's going on. My covenant with him was life and peace. And I gave it to him to fear. And he feared me and stood in awe of my name. The Torah of truth was in his mouth, and his righteousness was not found in his lip. He walked with me in peace and straightened, and turned many away from crookedness. For the lips of a priest should guard knowledge and seek the Torah from his mouth. for he is the messenger of Elohim of hosts. And just read that right there again. For the lips of a priest should guard knowledge. This is in Malachi chapter 2. Malachi. Chapter 7 again. For the lips of a priest should guard knowledge, and they seek the Torah from his mouth, for he is the messenger of Yahweh of Elohim. How many of people will come to a position of a priesthood or a rabbi or a pastor, whatever you want to call it, coming into this position and just not seek the Torah from his mouth? Because anyone that stayed right here, we're supposed to be the messenger of Yahweh, just telling about his word. Okay, and a lot of people use their position of authority to preach their own agenda, to say their own agenda, and go far away from what the word of Elohim says. Verse 6 says, but you have turned from the way. You have caused many to stumble in the Torah. What about those who tell people you don't have to do this anymore? Okay, because it has been done away with. You're doing exactly the same things that the Levites were doing at the end. Okay, you cannot tell people that. You're keeping people away from the Torah. You have corrupted the covenant of Levi, say Yahweh of hosts. And I shall make you despised and low before all people, because you are not guarding my ways and are showing partiality in the Torah. What is showing partiality to the Torah? Isn't that like picking and choosing whatever you want to do? It's like, okay, we can do this, but we don't have to do this anymore. I can do some of it, but you don't have to do it all. So this is exactly what was going on at the time of Malachi. So the Levites that were instructed the priesthood were not doing what they were supposed to do. And it's going to be taken away from it. It's going to be taken away from anyone. If you started to go your own ways, the blessings that were given to you or to your descendants are going to be taken away. We have to make our own peace. We have to be the one making the decisions to move forward. So it doesn't matter what your forefathers did a long time ago. I can boast from that. It's like, man, my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was a great man. He's like, okay, what about you? You know? So everybody can be good. So we have to be sure that we have to keep doing, each generation has to pretty much start over and do it their own way. We are responsible for the life that we live now, not what our forefathers did. If we read Ezekiel 18, just a reference, it's pretty much we're on our own. So we better do our own decisions, okay? Now, moving along, Yehuda, one of the longest blessings that we're going to see, and we're actually going to start in 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 1. And he says, as for the son of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, he was the firstborn, but because he profaned his father's bed, his birthright was given to the son of Joseph, son of Israel, so that the genealogy is not listed according to the birthrights. For Yehuda prevailed over his brothers, and from him came a ruler, although the birthright was Joseph. So the two longest blessings belongs to Jacob, belong to Joseph and Yehuda, because it was in between them that they split the rights of the firstborn. Okay, so we see in 1 Chronicle that Jacob recognized Joseph with the birthrights, giving him, of course, the son, the double portion, but the authority of the family was given to Yehuda. Okay, Judah was the one in charge of the family. In the final blessing from Jacob, in Genesis 49, verse 6, it says, you, Yehuda, your brother praise you. Your hand is on the neck of your enemies. Your father's children bow down before you. Yehuda is a lion's cub. From the prey you have gone up, my son. He bowed down, he crouched like a lion. And like a lion, who does rouse him? The acceptor shall not turn aside from Yehuda, nor an inscriber from between his feet, until Shiloh comes, and to him is the obedience of people. Binding his donkey to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choicest vine. He washed his garments in wine, and his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth whiter than milk. So Jacob prophesied that his brothers were going to praise him and will bow down to him. In fact, it was Yehuda that spoke with Joseph and was responsible for Benjamin when he was in Egypt. Okay, we know that Yehuda took the leadership from his brothers. Later in history, the tribe of Yehuda will literally take the lead among the other tribes of Israel. In fact, the tribe of Yehuda was ahead of the other tribe when they were in the wilderness. Numbers 10:14, it said, "And the banner of the camp of the children of Yehuda departed first according to the divisions." That was in Numbers 10:14. The tribe of Yehuda was the first one to fight, not only during the time of Moshe, but also during the time of Jehoshua. We're going to see in Judges chapter 1, verse 1, and he said, "It came to be after the death of Jehoshua that the children of Israel asked Yahweh, saying, Who of us shall go up first against the Canaanites to fight against them? And Yahweh said, Yehuda does go up. See, I have given the land into his land." Okay? So Yehuda was, come on, I'm going first. Let me go ahead and do it, because he was in charge of the families. In verse 8 says that your hand is on the neck of your enemies, back in 49. And this was fulfilled during the time of King David and Solomon, king of the tribe of Judah. Their kingdom expanded to the farthest border in Israel history. The fulfillment of this prophecy, we find that in 2 Samuel. I guess I don't have it right here. Okay, we find in 2 Samuel 22, 40 and 40, it says, And you gird me with strength of battle. You cause my adversaries to bow down under me. And you make my enemies turn their backs. Those hating me, I cut them off. And also, I think I have Psalms 18:39. It says, and you gird me with the strength for battles, cause my adversaries to bow down under me. You have made my enemies turn their backs. As for those hating me, I cut them off. So again, this was a promised blessing for the future, for sure. The blessing of Jacob compared Yehuda to a lion's cub. And of course, like anyone, we start as a baby. The lion starts a cub, small and immature, but then becomes a lion, which is like the king of the jungle right now. From the lineage of Yehuda, we knew that Messiah was coming. Yeshua was called in Revelation 5:5 the Lion of Judah, the Lion of Yehuda. Jacob was prophesying that the descendant of Judah were going to become kings, including the everlasting kingdom of Messiah. The rest of the blessing of Yehuda, of Judah, it seems like it was literally a prophecy about the kingdom to come, and especially about Messiah. And this can be difficult passages to discuss and even translate, because the Masoretic text and the Septuagint give us a slightly difference between words used in the passage. One of the words that we read is the word Shiloh, which means in the Hebrew, he who he is. Okay? Shiloh or Shiloh, I don't know how you say it in the English, but in the Hebrew will be Shiloh. I don't think I have anything here. It means he who he is. It's a literal translation. And that's a title that was given to Messiah. In the Septuagint, we read this as until the king store up for him to come, and he is the expectation of the nations, which is a little bit different again. The kingship was given to Yehuda anywhere from the time of King David, which was the first king of Yehuda. This didn't change. Okay, anywhere from King David to Herod, a prince of Yehuda was the leader of Israel. This includes Daniel when he was in captivity. He was from the tribe of Yehuda as well. Historically, this is a very fascinating fact that I found out, is around the time of Yeshua, the rabbis started to worry because they thought that the last king of Yehuda was done. So they thought that the kingdom, the kingship from Yehuda was finished, or was about to finish.
That's not all they missed.
I'm sorry?
That's not all they missed.
No, they miss completely much more than that for sure. So he said around that time, the rabbis were going out on the street at the time that Yeshua was here, and they used to go and shout out in the street, woe of us, woe of us. The scepter, the rod or the staff, has been removed from Yehuda, and we're still waiting on Shiloh. So that's one of the things that they said when they were around. And we know that wasn't true, because we know that Messiah was around that time. Maybe he was a little kid. Maybe he was in the temple as a 12-year-old discussing the Torah at the time. Luke chapter 1, 32, he says, and he shall be great, and shall be called the Son of the Most High. And Elohim shall give him the throne of his father David. And he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever, and there shall be no end to his reign. And as Jacob saying his word, all the brothers will bow down to Yehuda. We know that literally that will happen before Yehoshua, a descendant of the tribe of Yehuda, where every knee will bow down. The acceptor, which is a word that I have to learn into English and Spanish, which is the rod or something that the kings used to use, of Yehuda, is not only the kingdom, but also the Torah, okay? The tribe of Yehuda, Benjamin, and part of the Levites later became known as the Jews, or the Jewish people, okay? Once the two kingdoms split, the northern and the southern kingdom was the whole tribe of Yehuda, I guess 500 men from Shimeon, tribe of Benjamin, and son of the Levites. And the southern kingdom, they started doing worshiping the way it should be, and the northern kingdom, the rest of the tribe, decided to go and worship the other gods, okay? So no matter how we see it in history, but the Jews, the Jewish people, made an effort to keep the Torah and their traditions. No other tribe tried as much as they did, and they were not perfect, but they did their best that they could. And there's no doubt in my mind that sometimes we like to pick a lot on them, but it's just the fact that when the other tribes were doing their own thing and they decided to, okay, we're just going to try to do the right thing and worship the Elohim of Israel, there is no doubt in my mind that they did it with the best intentions. And they kept, when these Torah scrolls were being burned, they saved them, they kept them, they fought for it, they died for it. They have been hated all around history because of them not joining what the rest of the world was doing. So we have to give a lot of credit to Yehuda and the Yehudim, the Jewish people, for that. Romans 3:1 say, what then is the advantage of the Yehudim? The Yehudim, or what is the value of the circumcision? This is what's a discussion there. And verse 2 say, much in every way, because firstly, indeed, that they were instructed with the word of Elohim. So the Yehudim, the Jewish people, were entrusted with the Torah, and they kept it the best way that they could. And they did the best that they can to keep the words of Elohim in what they could do, especially at the time that they were going on. All right, next try. I promise start to getting shorter and shorter, okay? I didn't get a lot of information in every one of that. Zebulon. I think that's Rabbi's tribe. Tribe of Zebulon. So I only pick good stuff, Rabbi, so I'm not going to talk bad about Zebulon, okay? So it says Zebulon, the blessing is Zebulon dwells at the seashore, for it is for a haven for ships, and his border is unto Sidon. Which is very interesting. We're going to see that when you look at the territory that was given to Zebulun by Jehoshua, you would have thought that Jacob was very wrong, or he was drinking something that he was not supposed to be drinking at that time, because at the time when the land was given to Zebulun, they were not close to be to any body of water. They were actually between the Sea of Galilee and the Mediterranean Sea. So, but they didn't border neither of them at the time. So it's like, okay, what's going on here? Something was completely missing. So yeah, they were given the valley of Jezreel, a very fertile region of the north. The blessing of Moshe gave this tribe, that Moshe gave to the tribe was very related to the vision of Jacob. And we can read right there, Deuteronomy 33:18. In Zebulun he said, rejoice, O Zebulun, in your going out, and Issachar in your tents. They called peoples to the mountains that were slaughtering of righteousness. For they drove from the reaches of the seas and treasures hidden in the sand. So even though, especially at the time of Jehoshua, that neither of the territory bordered the sea, the territory was known as one of the most important commercial routes known as Via Maris, which was a connection between, which translates to the way of the sea, which connected Damascus and Egypt. So it will go all the way from Damascus, it will go all Via Maris, the way of the sea, will go here. This is around where Zebulun was, and will go all the way down to Egypt. So it was a very commercial place. And the prophecy also said that their borders will be all the way up to Zidon, which is more on the north. It's a very important sea city in the Mediterranean Sea. So again, it was being more prophetic to the future. The closest territory to Sidon is actually the tribe of Asher, not Zebulun. The problem was that Asher, later on, they didn't get rid of the Canaanites that live in their territory. Is he looking at me every time I say Asher? Okay. In that territory, we find Haifa and Mount Carmel. The empty spaces that Asher left started to be occupied by Zebulun. So every time they were not doing, they were moving away, Zebulun started moving in, including the coastal part of Asher. Okay? And today in Israel, the northern valley that is located right next to the coast of Israel is known as the Valley of Zebulun. So Jacob and Moshe were both right. They were going to be all the way to the sea. And they were, again, very good business people. So I guess you're a good businessman, Rabbi. The tribe of Zebulun were also great warriors. Again, another Rabbi likes that. And they were very loyal to King David, and they provided more soldiers to David than any other tribe. 1 Chronicles 12:33, of Zebulun there were 50,000 going out to the army, arraying battle with all weapons of battles, giving support with undivided heart. Judges 4:10 and 5:18 give us an idea about Zebulun as warriors. And he said, Barak, not Obama, the other Barak, called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh. And he went up, 10,000 men under his command, and Deborah went up with him. Zebulun is a people who risk their life to the point of death. Okay? So they were very good warriors. They were very loyal to David and to Israel itself. So that's, you see, only good thing about Zebulun. Nothing bad about that. Now, Issachar. Okay? Issachar, we have verses 14 and 15 of the blessing. Issachar is a strong donkey laying down between two burdens. And he saw that a resting place was good, and that the land was pleasant, and he inclined his shoulder to bear a burden, and became a subject to slave labor. I think in this day and age, when somebody compares you to a donkey, might not be a good comparison, right? Somebody says, man, you look like a donkey. You're going to be like a donkey. They're like, I don't think that's a good thing. But, of course, back then, it wasn't an insult. They were the third largest tribe in Israel, according to the census. And it seems that the meaning of Issachar was strong. The word Issachar was strong, but docile and lazy. Okay, so that's why you see kind of like in the blessings going, praising them, but also not telling a lot of good stuff about it. When the land was divided by Jehoshua, the territory was given to Issachar, was located south of the Sea of Galilee. So this is the Sea of Galilee, You see it on the south, right next to running through the Jordan River, right there. They work hard, so because they have a very fertile land, and they were strong just as a donkey. They also helped Deborah when she asked for help in Judges 5:15, and he says, "And the heads of Yishachar were with Deborah, and as Yishachar, so was Barak, sent into the valley under his command." Also, they helped David, King David, when Shaul was chasing him and provided food for the army. 1 Chronicles 12:40, and then 1 Chronicles 12:32, he says, "And the children of Issachar who had understanding of the time." Oh, no, sorry. Where am I? 10:32. Yes, we're going to get there. And it seems that the tribe of Issachar were not only strong men fighting, but they were also studying the word. It seems that they spent a lot of time studying the word of Elohim and the Torah. And that's why we see in 1 Chronicles 12:32, he said, "And the children of Issachar who have understanding of the times to know what Israel should do, their chief were 200, and all their brothers acted at their mouth." Understanding the time was very important for even in this day, especially during the time of Yeshua, and he will be at the end as well. Matthew 16, verses 1 through 4, he says, "And the Pharisees and Sadducees came, and trying him, asked that he should show them a sign from heaven. And he answering, saying to them, When it is evening, you say, fair weather, for the heaven is red. And in the morning, stormy weather today, for the heaven is red and overcast. You know how to discern the phases of the heaven, but you're unable to discern the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign shall be given to it, except the sign of the prophet Jonah. And he left them and went away." So knowing the signs have more to do than just the weather, okay? But the times of Elohim.
I suppose the experts in setting the beginning of the month and
Absolutely.
year and all that.
Yes.
Stars.
Yes. So they were, it seems that they were given that responsibility when it comes to that. Which tell us, like, we should be synchronized with the times that Yahweh Elohim gave us. Today, most people will proclaim that, yes, we follow Elohim, we love Yeshua, but we don't even follow his calendar. We don't even follow what he gave us to follow for the months and the seasons or any of that. So we don't even know the times. And even though the Yehudim at the time of Yehoshua, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, were following, they started adding stuff to their months as well when they were in captivity in Babylon. So when we're not in time, we're not synchronized with Elohim's time, we're going to be lost. We have no idea what's going on in our time. So it seems that the tribe of Yisachar were very good to be discerning the time, and we should be as discerning as they are, knowing the times. Because there is nowhere in the scripture that says, even though it said nobody knows, but we should know the time, because everything runs according to the calendar that our Father gave us in the beginning, all the way from Bereshit. Moshe also blessed Yisachar. I'm going to read real quick. He said, Deuteronomy 33:18, "And of Zebulun, he said, Rejoice, O Zebulun, in your going out, and Yisachar in your tents. They called people to the mountain. They were slaughtering of righteousness. For they draw from the riches of the sea the treasures hidden in the sand," which is the same blessing that Zebulun and Yisachar were together. Now the tribe of Dan. It says in the prophecy from Jacob, say, Dan rightly rules his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan is a serpent by the way, an otter by the path, that bites a horse heels so that his rider falls backwards. I have waited for your deliverance of Yahweh. And it seems very contradictory, but he's talking about specifically the name of Dan. Dan means judge, to be a judge. So that's why he's saying the right ruling his people as one of the tribes of Israel. So that's what the word Dan means. It means judge. Jacob is also comparing him to an animal, a serpent. We know, we have heard about good things about serpent in the scripture and bad things about serpent as well. Matthew, I have it right here. I guess I don't have it. Matthew 10:16 says, "See, I send you as a sheep in the midst of wolves." This is Yeshua talking. Therefore, be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Okay? So this is like the good thing. Be wise. Okay? And this is the good comparison from the serpent. In the other way, being a serpent is mostly all the bad. Like we know the Hasatan throughout history have been compared to a serpent there.
But you're not saying that where it's talking about a serpent there in verse 17, that that's a
I'm sorry?
bites the horse's heels with the rider falls over backward. I'm not positive.
I know, but there's 2 minutes. But it's, I mean, the word, I mean, and we're going to see later on that what the tribe of Dan did wasn't too pleased to Elohim either. We have good things coming out of Dan, including the man who was chosen to build the tabernacle, and I think that's a great story. In Exodus, starting chapter 31, verse 6 says, "And look, I have appointed with Oholiab, son of Ahishamat, of the tribe of Dan, and I have put wisdom in the heart of everyone who is wise-hearted, and they shall make all that I have commanded you." So Ahishamat, which was from the tribe of Dan, he was appointed to do the tent of appointment, the ark of the witness, the leaf of the atonement that is on it, the utensils of the tent, the table, the utensils, the clean gold lamp. Again, a lot of things that belong to the tabernacle were made by a descendant of the tribe of Dan. And he was approved by Elohim and giving him exactly the directions how they needed to do. And at the end of the passage, say, "According to all that I have commanded you, they are to do." One of the greatest men from the tribe of Dan was also Samson. Okay, I think everybody knows the story of Samson in Judges chapter 13 through 16. Elohim gave him special strength. He dedicated his life for the most part. We know what happened to this. He was able to defeat the Philistines several times. But then after Samson died, the Philistines made the tribe of Dan flee to the north. And we see that in Judges chapter 18. And once they started fleeing to the north, they started leaving that land. The Philistines started moving in, and Dan was pretty much fleeing. They were gone. Which is very interesting because the tribe of Dan is not mentioned in the book of Revelation for the 12,000 in chapter 7, which is would give us, we can speculate several reasons why that didn't happen, but it seems that, wow, that was pretty loud. But it seems that they introduced idolatry to Israel, and that might be one of the reasons we read that in Judges 18:30. And they became a center of worship of false idols of Israel as well. And we read that in Amos chapter 8, verse 13 and 14. It says, "In that day the beautiful maidens and strong young men shall faint from thirst. Those swearing by the guild of Shomeron, who said, As your mighty ones live, O Dan, and as the way of Beersheba live, and they shall fall and never rise again." So it seems like whatever they did was so wrong that they even want to completely get away with what then was given to them. But I think it's important to point out that what we're talking about in Revelations, I don't think it has nothing to do with eternal salvation, but the protection, especially at the time of the tribulation of the from that time. At the end of the blessing of Jacob, he says to Dan, "I have waited for your deliverance of Yahweh." Okay, so it might be, maybe later on they're going to come back and do what they're supposed to do. That take us back to Gad. Okay, very short blessing. Gad, a raiding band raids him, but he raids its heel. That's like, how do you say it? Like when like a riddle for me. Yeah, he says too much of riding bands raids him, but the raids his heel. I don't know. It was, it's a very simple blessing, and it was short and simple. In the Hebrew, the blessing has only 6 words. Okay, so again, it was very short, very to the point. 4 of the words are related with the verb gad, which that's where the name comes of Gad, and it means to attack, to invade, and it also can be translated as troops. Okay, so they seems that they were very good. And the blessing has to do with them being attacked, but also for them to attack back. Okay, it's not only okay you're going to stay. No, they're going to attack you. They're going to come for you, but you have to fight back. Okay, and we know that Gad is one of the 2.5 tribes that were on the other side, but again, they were also very exposed to the enemy. So they needed to be ready to be attacked, but they needed to be ready to attack as well. The descendants of Gad were also known as brave soldiers. 1 Chronicles 12:8, and some Gadites separate themselves to David in the stronghold in the wilderness, mighty brave men trained for battle, who could handle shield and spear, whose faces were like the faces of lions, and were swift as gazelles on the mountains. So they have a very good description of how good of warriors they were. So that gives us the tribe needed to be strong because, again, as Reuben and Manasseh, they were on the other side of the Jordan and very vulnerable to the enemy's attack. Because they were on the other side, they were one of the first ones to start to follow pagan traditions and started to do their own way and split it from the kingdom. They were the first one to be taken captive with the Assyrians. Okay, that's what we read in 1 Chronicle 5:25. But they trespassed against the Elohim of their fathers and whored after the mighty ones of the people of the land, whom Elohim had destroyed before them. So the Elohim of Israel stirred up the spirit of Pul, sovereign of Ashur, and the spirit of Tiglath-Pileser, sovereign of Ashur. And he took the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh into exile and brought them to Halat, the harbor of Harah, and the river of Gazan until this day. So you see, usually on this side, anyone on this side, we're going to be very vulnerable to the enemy's attack, not getting the help from their brothers. And they have to fight back, but I think the reason that they were taken captive was not the geographical position that they were, but because they started following idols. Okay, so that's the main reason that they started doing that.
As soon as the tribes got through fighting, mostly, they went back and they built the altar over
Yeah, they
on that
did.
side.
Yes.
And the tribes heard about it, and the tribes went to approach them to destroy them, but they found out they went sacrificing there. They just built an altar to remember. They built an altar right off the bat right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, those were all the lands that even Moshe was there. So, I don't know, we talk about Moshe, being part of the land, but he was, I guess, at one point or another, but he wanted to see the other side of the Jordan for sure. So Moshe left a final blessing of God in Deuteronomy 33:20 and said, and God, he said, blessed is he who enlarged God. He dwells as a lion and shall tear off the arm, also the crown. And he chose the best for himself, for there the portion of the inscriber was hidden. And he came with the heads of people, the righteousness of Yahweh he did, and his right rulings with Israel. So again, they were part of that final blessing from Moshe. Asher. Now we're going to talk about Asher. Okay? Look at me. Now it's in trouble. Okay? It says, verse 20, bread from Asher is rich, and he gives delicacies of a sovereign. Very simple blessing as well, was also very short. And the name of Asher means blessed. Okay? The land of Asher produced a lot of olives, and that means a lot of oil and very good produce. So they were located on the northern side, farther off the northern side of Israel. Hold on. He doesn't like what? He's confused why I'm talking about him. They were located on the fertile land right next to the coast of the Mediterranean, as you guys can see right there. Most of the oil products of Israel today come from that part of the country. The blessing that was given by Moshe was also very similar to the one from Jacob. We didn't happen too often in the two blessings. Deuteronomy 32:24 said, and of Asher he said, Asher is most blessed of son. Let him be accepted by his brothers and dip his food in oil. Your sandals are iron and bronze, and your strength as your days. We don't have a lot of recorded history from Asher and what their descendants did, except I think one of the major things that they didn't do was completely expose the Canaanites that were living at the time there. So we don't have a lot of history from there, from Joshua, David, the kingdom, or even in the second writings. They didn't have any outstanding leader either. But we have a very interesting person named, a very interesting person's name that came from that tribe of Asher. We find that in the second writings. Luke chapter 2, starting verse 36, it says, and there was Hannah, a prophetess, daughter of Penuel of the tribe of Asher. She was advanced in years and had lived with a husband 7 years from the maidenhood. And she was a widow of about 84 years, who did not leave the set-apart place, but served Elohim with fasting and prayer night and day. And she coming in at that moment, gave thanks to Elohim and spoke of him to all the world waiting for redemption in Jerusalem. What are they talking about here? Talking about the circumcision of Yeshua, right? And the time that he was given the name.
Yeah, she acknowledged it as soon as they brought the child there too.
Because she was there praying, seeking the face of Elohim day and night for so long. And it is recognized that she was there. She was looking for it. And again, she wasn't the only one looking for it. They knew the Messiah was going to be, the Messiah had to be born around that time. So once she saw it, she started telling everyone, hey, he's here. He's a little baby. He's only 8 days old right now, but he's here. So she was probably the major person that we know that came from that tribe of Asher. Naphtali, another short blessing. Naphtali is a deer let loose. He gives word of elegance. And if I'm not mistaken, a lot of these words for deer were actually dove, which is of course, a female version of it. And there are several mentions of the deer in the scripture. Psalms 18:33, making my feet like the feet of the deer and set me on high places. Habakkuk 3:19, Yahweh my master is my strength, and he makes my feet like those of deer. He makes me walk on the high places. The territory of Naphtali is around the Sea of Galilee. It's on the northern side, right next to Asher, Zebulun, Issachar, the east part of Manasseh. But they're going all the way here, which is like the farthest north that you can find from the tribe. What is very important about this is this is the region where Yeshua chose to do a lot of his ministry, right there by the Sea of Galilee. That's what we read in Matthew 4:12. And Yehoshua, having heard Yochanan had been put in prison, withdrew into Galilee. And leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt in Capernaum, which is by the sea, in the border of Zebulun and Naphtali. I love how specific it's telling the places where he was, to feel what was spoken by Yeshayahu the prophet, saying, land of Zebulun and land of Naphtali, the way of the sea, beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the nations. The people who sat in darkness saw a great light, and upon those who sat in the land and shadow of death, light arose to them. And we find this in Yeshayahu, Isaiah chapter 9. The prophet Deborah was also from Naphtali, and we know her story in the book of Judges. The blessing of Moshe to Naphtali we find in Deuteronomy 33:23. And Naphtali, he said of Naphtali, satisfied with pleasure and filled with the blessings of Yahweh, possesses the west and the south. So I think the blessing of Naphtali just having Mashiach dwelled there during the time of his ministry for the most part, I think, um, was a blessing not only to the north. Remember, everything else was just the south, the Yehudim. Anywhere on the north was just known as Israel or this nation that decided to do their own way. So we only have two left. I know I have been going long, very long today. I apologize, but I think it was a lot of good information there. We have the tribe of Joseph. Okay, this was the longest blessing that we find, even longer than it was with Yehuda. And it makes sense because between Joseph and Yehuda had the responsibility of the firstborn. So it was important for them that they have to share that responsibility. He says Joseph is an offshoot of a fruit-bearing tree and an offshoot of the fruit-bearing tree. By the fountain his branches run all over the wall. And the archers have bitterly grieved him, shot at him and hated him. But his bow remained in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hand of the mighty one of Jacob. And that is the shepherd and the stone of Israel. From the El of our fathers who helps you, and by the Almighty who blesses you with blessings of the heaven from above, blessings of the deep that lies beneath the blessings of the breast of the womb. The blessings of your father have excelled the blessing of my ancestor up to the limit of the everlasting hills. There on the head of Joseph and onto the crowd of the head of him who was separated from his brother. So this was like a truly real blessing when it came to Joseph. And even the times of his life that Joseph had, he never forsake Elohim, even when he was in trouble. He knew Elohim. He knew the purpose that Yahweh had in his life. And as we mentioned before, he was given the firstborn right instead of Reuben. The firstborn received a double portion, and this is why Joseph has two tribes. We don't have the tribe of Joseph, but he has these two sons. We have Ephraim and Manasseh, okay, which is two of the largest, especially Manasseh has, we have in the east and in the west, so he was the largest part of the tribe. Ephraim received a smaller portion of the territory, but it was right in the heart of Israel. From the tribe of Ephraim, we find very important leaders, including Joshua, that came after Moshe. And when the kingdom is split between the northern and the southern, the northern kingdom, Ephraim was the one that had the leadership of those tribes. The problem with the tribe of Ephraim was that they didn't expel all the Canaanites out of the land, and this created a problem later because they were demanding more territory because they were great numbers. But how in the world are you going to be demanding when you're supposed to get rid of this, but the people, but you didn't get rid of the people, so you are crowded now because you are too many people there. And they're complaining to an Ephraimite, that somebody from the tribe of Ephraim, which is Jehoshua. And it goes right there in Jehoshua chapter 17, starting in verse 13. It said, "It came to be when the children of Israel grew strong that they put the Canaanites to hard labor, but they did not utterly drive them out." So instead of driving them out the way they're supposed to be, they make them work hard. And we know what happened when you start making somebody working hard, as the people of Israel were in Egypt. You start to complain, you can rise up and you can start something up. And the children of Joseph spoke to Jehoshua, saying, "Why have you given us but one lot and one portion of inherit, seeing we are great people whom Yahweh hath blessed until now?" And Jehoshua said to them, "If you are great people, go up to the forest and clear a place for yourself there in the land of Perizzites and the Rephaites, since the hill country of Ephraim is too narrow for you." Then the children of Joseph said, "The hill country is not enough for us. And all the Canaanites who dwell in the land of the valley have chariots of iron, both those who are Vaychi and its towns, and those who are in the valley of Israel." And Jehoshua spoke to the house of Joseph, to Ephraim, and to Manasseh, saying, "You are a great people and have great power. You are not to have one lot, for the hills county shall be yours. For thought it is forest, you shall cut it down, and its farthest limit shall be yours. For you are to drive out the Canaanites, that they have the iron chariots and are strong." So You're talking about to a great leader right now. We're studying the book of Joshua. We know what Joshua was able to accomplish as a leader of Israel. You come to complain about him, about territory. It's like, just drive the people out. That's all you have to do. If you drive the people out, you will be able to have the land and not be complaining because it is too much for you.
They never did.
And they never did. So what do? They became slaves instead of driving them out. So that created a huge problem in Israel. Oh yes, I mean I think at that point Joshua had done his part. He's like, I'm waiting for somebody else to take over because I'm tired. I mean, what he did, nobody else did. Judges 1:29, you say, neither did Ephraim drive out the Canaanites who dwell in Gezer. No, the Canaanites dwell in the midst. So the Canaanites dwell in the midst of Gezer. Psalm 78:9, the children of Ephraim, armed bowmen, turned back in the days of battle. They did not guard the covenant of Elohim, and they refused to walk in his Torah. So how they did not guard the word of Elohim and walk in the Torah? They did not get rid of the people that they were supposed to get rid of it. And that created a problem in the future by being such a small people. The descendant of Joseph, as we know, will have a major impact in the events to come. The prophets tell. We know they talk about Ephraim and Mizraim, so we know they're going to be part of the kingdom to come for sure. Okay, the last one now, Benjamin. Okay, it says, Benjamin is a wolf that tears. In the morning he eats prey, and at night he divides spoil. Benjamin is located between two great territories, which is Ephraim and Yehudah. We find very important cities in this territory, including Jericho, Bethel, where inside of Benjamin. But there is the most important city that was within Benjamin that people think that it was in Yehudah is actually Jerusalem. Jerusalem is in the tribe of Benjamin. And it's right in the border, pretty much between Yehudah, but it's on the side of Benjamin. And we see that in Yehoshua chapter 18, verse 28. And Zelah, Elef, and Jeshubai, that is Jerusalem, Jerusalem, Givat, and Kibrat, 14 cities with their village. This was the inheritance of the children of Benjamin for their clans. Okay, again, probably the most important city throughout history was located within the tribe of Benjamin. Many great warriors came from this tribe, including King Saul and Rabbi Saul. There were two different Sauls, but they have their whole different purpose. And before King Saul, we found Ehud, we read in Judges chapter 3, who fought against the Moabites and won. And he seemed like he acted like a wolf, just like the prophet. So they were good warriors, including King Saul. Once King Saul was on top of his game, nobody could beat him. So they were good warriors. The trial was almost wiped out. We know this as we read in the events of Judges 19 and 20. It's kind of like a long story. But they really behaved like Sodom and Gomorrah. They were not being, they were trying to do something very evil, and all the other tribes came against them and almost completely destroyed nobody was left. We know that Benjamin was one of the tribes that stayed in the southern kingdom with Yehudah, Benjamin, I guess 500 of the Shimeon, and became the Yehudim, the Jewish people. The blessing of Moshe in Deuteronomy 33-12 to Benjamin, he said, let the beloved of Yahweh dwell in safety by him, shielding him all the way and dwells between his shoulder. It seems that he's referring, in this case, to the temple, which is located in Jerusalem, where Benjamin is. So, again, that has been, I know we spent a lot of time, but I think it was very important that the blessings of the tribes more than blessings to the son of Jacob were prophecies. And we see that going not only from the time of Yehoshua, the time of the king, future time to come as well. And I have that, I mean, from here, this is where the tribes were located, all of them at the time of Yehoshua. A little bit between David and Solomon, we should find out a little bit more, but it seems once we read in the prophet that later on in the years that the land of Israel is going to be way, way bigger than it is described as before. So it's going to be way more land in the future ahead of us. And I think that we can learn from them is, again, starting with Reuben, being the firstborn. Just because you're the firstborn doesn't mean that you're going to get the blessings from Elohim if you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Because your inheritance is about what you're going to do with your life. It's about what am I going to do with my life. It's about am I going to follow him or not? Okay, because no father will give his son something that they don't deserve or they didn't gain. Okay, because we are all the same. To Elohim, it doesn't matter which tribe we're coming from. We have seen great men and women from different tribes, but all together we're what? We're the house of Israel. Okay, and he says in the prophet that we can choose whatever tribe you want to belong to. If you're not from that lineage, you can choose whatever tribe you want to become, you want to be part of. And we talked before about how Yehoshua refers to Israel as a house. So we are a house that should be run by him, by Elohim. We should not be boasting ourselves. It's like we know it all. No, we are in a walk. We're walking day by day, trying to figure things out and live the right way. We can learn from them. We can learn from their history, how it happened, how even that they were blessed and they accomplished a lot of things just because another generation started to do their own will and started to follow these other gods. They were being punished for it. And this is the reason why Israel has been scattered all over the place. And we probably have been a blessing that we have been scattered all over the place because we have been a blessing to so many nations. And at the end, we're going to come back. But because of our sins, we were driven out. We were supposed to be the other way. We were supposed to drive out those who were sinning, but we let it happen the other way. So we can learn. We can learn from Levi that it doesn't matter how much you can be blessed, that the priesthood was given to you because of what you did. If you started teaching something else that is not from the work of Elohim, if you start picking and choosing and do whatever you want instead of what the word of Elohim says, now you're going to be in trouble. And you're going to pay the consequences of that. And with that, I'm going to leave it and Shabbat Shalom. Yeah.
12 dysfunctional tribes produce dysfunctional leaders and a dysfunctional nation that still produce the Messiah and the Father.
Amen. Amen. That's the way it is. And it is and what I love about it is like people from everywhere. I mean, just Ephraim and Manasseh were born in Egypt. And even from there, they were able to be a blessing because of what Joseph did, that they were included part of the tribe of Israel. So there is a lot there. Any questions or something before we go and continue along? Oh, yeah, that's fine. All right, if you join us for the repetition of the Shema, you will please stand. Go. My Israel, Eloheinu, Yehovah, Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam, Yehovah. Blessed is the name of his glorious kingdom for all eternity. You may be seated.
Father, you spoke to Moshe saying how to bless the children of Israel. Today we do not have the presence of Aaron and his sons. So in their absence, we, as a congregation, will read in English and sing in Hebrew how to bless the children of Israel by saying to them, Yehovah bless you and guard you. Yehovah make his face to shine upon you and show favor to you. Yehovah lift up his face upon you and give you peace. Thus they shall put my name on the children of Israel, and I myself shall bless you. Shalom.